Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream. It's me, Jack, once again here for Hattons, and today we've got another special Fireside chat stream. As you can see just above me right now, we've got Everard Junction here.
Hello.
And we've also got Dave from Dean Park Station as well.
Hello.
Thanks very much for joining us, guys. Hope you're well.
Yeah, it's no problem at all. Good fun.
Great stuff.
I get to run some trains for a change.
I know, I'm really excited to see some stuff on your layout, and I think we've got a bit of a sneak preview here for your layout, haven't we?
Yeah. A lot of static grass. Been very busy over the last 4 or 5 days. It's I mean, it's only in the early stages, but it's coming along. It's nice to have another bit of plywood, covered up.
Well, you're making good progress anyway.
It's almost
the endless battle, isn't it, of trying to get some level of scenery on the layout. But, we're winning slowly. The lockdown has its benefits.
I was going to say, it's the best time to do it, really, isn't it? If you're going to be
absolutely. I mean,
cracking on.
I've made 6 months worth of progress in the last couple of weeks. It does. There is a positive side to it.
There's a silver lining in everything, isn't there? So
absolutely, yeah.
And then Dave, we've got your fantastic layout in the background there. I can just see some Mark IIs, I think, going past.
Yeah, aye.
So I'm sure you guys will be able to see some fascinating stuff in the background there too. So I'll quickly just go to the chat because I can see there's absolutely tons of comments from you guys.
I've got a laptop down here.
That's it. So if any questions you guys have, put them down there in the chat. I'll be able to answer them, and I believe Richard is taking a look, and Dave as well. So if there's anything you want us to read out, let us know. We'll try our best. I can see there's a lot of comments coming through, so don't be offended if we don't get around to your question, but we will try to answer everyone. So we've got Gareth Waite says hi. We've got FMR Station House here. We've got Michael Robinson from Australia. We've got King Ori, Ethan Henderson from Scotland. We've got 700 Shunter, Deltic Junction James, Nigel Weir. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Like I say, if you want to ask us anything or if you've got any questions, just give us a shout. But I think we're just going to have a bit of a chat, watch some trains running, and see how we get on, really.
Yeah, I've got a couple of trains queued up, so we'll try and mix things up a little bit. I've got Metals Sector 37 running at the moment, which should be in shot in a little bit. And I've got 3 other trains in the fiddle yard, so we'll have a bit of fun.
Yeah, let's do it. I've kept the camera trained on you for a while, Richard, so we can wait and see that 37 come around. I'm sure people like to see that.
Just passing me now. It's technically a new arrival. It's a chassis. I had it in stock, and the body I bought off of Dave. So that's ex-Dean Park Metals Sector to go with my Metals train, basically. So now I have 3 37s for the layout. So.
Nice.
Yeah. Trying to strike a balance. Somebody said in one of my videos, "You've got too many 47s." I was like, "Yeah, speak the truth, my friend. We need some more variety." So, a couple of 37s running today.
A bit of fleet sharing there going on between the 2 layouts as well. That's always interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few more hellos while I'm in the chat as well. We've got Richard Svidersky, Graham M, Matt Maz2 says hello. We've got James Akers, Uphill and Onwards. I Like Transport, Onno Mulder, Southway 1943, West Hill Wagon Works, Cam Valley Rail. Loads of you guys, so thanks very much for joining us once again.
Thanks very much for joining. People from all over the world, Australia, America, UK, crazy stuff. I never would have thought a bloke in an attic with a rail would be of so much interest, but there you go.
That's how it goes with one of our live streams anyway. So
it's all new for me, this live stream life, but that's good fun.
So I think I'll pitch this to both of you guys, really. So obviously in this very strange period that we're going through at the moment, I know, Richard, you've mentioned briefly there about some of the things you've been up to on your layout. Do you want to just let us know what's been going on with that?
Jack, I've got a lot of feedback here. I've got 2 chats going on here. How's that?
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm hearing 2 different chats.
Oh right, have you got a few technical problems there?
Well, I've got.
Oh,
I think we might have lost Dave there, people. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right. We'll wing it. Hopefully, he can return. He looks like he's still on the stream.
Well, I think he's still there, but we'll soldier on for a second if there's a couple of tech problems there. Sorry about that, people.
All right. Well, I'll jump in the meantime. I've just been flat out on the layout. Usually, I have to book time off to do work on the layout, so to have the opportunity to really crack on with a bit of scenery for 5 days it's a unique opportunity. So I've just got on with my scenery, started
Yeah,
working
Steve,
grass, ballasting, fixing problems as well. Little things.
I'll be back.
I've been meaning to repair or sort out, and I've sorted out a load of those. So a lot of work. Re-weathered half the fleet. Finished the Mark II coaches. Just cracked on with as much as I can. Really, I've probably done 6 months worth of progress in a couple of weeks. So it's been good fun. But, as you say, it's a strange time, but it's a good way of taking your mind off it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll quickly flick over to your channel actually on the stream so people can have a quick look.
Okay.
And you can see he has been busy, people. He really has been busy. You can see here you've got, an hour-long video with all these Mark II coaches. That must have been a tremendous amount of work to do that.
I don't want to paint any more figures. Flipping heck. I think I painted 400 figures in the end. I tried to put 25 in each coach. They're all hand-painted, and I nearly went mad when I started painting, suits and ties and stuff. But the detail. I'm so glad I've done it now, because you look through the windows of the coaches and you can see it. It was worth it. But perhaps a bit more than I can chew. But usually I do a video, maybe once every couple of weeks or once a month. The last couple of weeks we've had a video a week, so it shows you the rate of progress. We've just been working on the layout. So all good fun.
I mean, I had a quick flick through that Mark II video there for everyone to see, and you can see how much of a difference that's made to that stock, though. It's absolutely revolutionised it.
Am I back, by the way?
Oh, you certainly are, Dave. Glad to have you back.
There you go. Right. Lash on. Poor signal, that's all it was.
Ah, typical. That's the attic for you, I suppose.
It just broke.
Yeah, home Wi-Fi is not usually doesn't usually take the attic into account.
Well, while we've got everyone back to normal again, I'll have a quick look through the comments there. We've got a couple of birthday greetings for you there, Dave. I should point out it is Dave's birthday today, so everyone can wish happy birthday.
I didn't realise my dates and my days are all popped in this lockdown. I didn't actually realise it was my birthday on Thursday, so that's why I put my competition live thing back till tomorrow, because I was getting some grief from downstairs for spending all my trains on my birthday. So, but this is a welcome distraction.
Yes, the days sort of blend into one at the moment, don't they? I have to keep checking what the date is, but
it's all a bit of a blur, really, isn't it? But like you say, good chance to get some modelling done though, which I think is what some people in chat have been doing. We've got Southway 1943 says made so much progress on my layout, all thanks to Hattons, so that's great to hear. We've got who else have we got here? We've got Southway 1943's got a question for you, Dave, which is how do you power up the cameras that you use? Apparently,
the CCTV camera.
I believe so.
At the Fiddle Yard area. Well, I got them on eBay, and my mate Mike came up with the link, and they're actually HGV reversing cameras, and kind of for retrofitting. So obviously I've not bothered with the sensors because that's not in the pack, but I just basically installed the cameras and I fed them back into I think it was a 15 volt supply, and then you link the monitors up to them, and it's simple. It's just like, plug the leads into the back of the camera, plug the leads into the back of the little monitor, fire it up on a 15 volt, I think it is, or 12, maybe even 12 volt DC, and it runs. And it's also night vision, if you like. So when I switch the lights off, it'll adapt to so you can see in the dark. So yeah, it's an eBay find. I can't remember the name of the actual BUYEE with the brand of the cameras. So yeah, allows me to see the Fiddle Yard without having to crawl under now and sort things out.
Might be a good project for some other people's layouts out there during the lockdown as well, so you can get a bit of a better view of those tricky areas as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's very useful. I mean, especially with Dave's layout, if you're stood at the controller, it's almost impossible to see what's going on in the Fiddle Yard, and you can actually send a train into the Fiddle Yard, park it, change the points, bring another train out, and do it all from the controller. And, so I took a picture of the cameras just to sort of remind myself what they were for future. But I mean, I could certainly use them somewhere. I mean, I've got a corner on the fiddle yard that's hidden by backboards and back scenes. When they're all motorized, perhaps a camera there would be handy. So yeah, it's something to consider, absolutely.
Like I say, it stops you having to crawl around on your hands and knees and stuff, doesn't it? So
it works well with my DCC Concepts kind of lit up control panel, you know, so I know which way the points are set without actually looking at the camera, but it's helping when I'm doing shunting. I know where to stop the train and stuff. So yeah, that was a good idea. I say my mate Mike suggested he's got them in his layout for underneath, because he's got a dual layer layout, and it's a godsend to know where the trains are without having to wander out everywhere and take your eye off controller. So yeah,
absolutely. I've got this is probably going to be a trickier question for you, Richard. So this is from James Akers, and he says, "Good afternoon. I hope you're well. What's your favourite livery on Everard Junction?" And I know we've seen a bit of Network Southeast in the background. So
this is a difficult question to answer. It's been asked before. It depends what sort of mood I'm in, because it comes down to Intercity or Network Southeast. I like the brightness of Network Southeast, but I like the smartness of the Intercity, and it just. At the moment, it's probably Network Southeast. After doing all those Mark II coaches, various DMUs got on the layout. It's a smart livery. I really like it. On the layout, favourite livery would be Network Southeast, but Intercity is a very close second. And I'm awfully partial to Rail Freight Red Stripe as well. They're all good liveries. It's British Rail. The sectorisation period, all that colour, such an interesting period to model.
It's hard not to like a bit of toothpaste livery, though, is it?
Oh, yeah. Some people hate it. Yeah, I love it. I can't get enough of it. It's just, they went from blue and grey to that vibrant colour, a refreshing change in my book.
Totally. Have you got any preference, Dave?
Network Southeast? No. I've actually got a couple of locals, because I do like the livery, I have to say. Now, my favourite probably ScotRail Blue Stripe in my 47s.
That does look smart.
And then second to that would be my Intercity Swallow, because it's such a classic livery. And I just repainted my Oxford Mark IIIs in the correct colours, and they look stunning now that they look correct. But it's such a smart livery. Very similar, actually. They're all they've done is changed the legend from Intercity to ScotRail on them. So it's the same livery in essence, but a different coloured stripe. I just think it's a classic. It aged so well. They stuck it in the Network Southeast as well.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah, I mean,
it's just classic.
Yeah, I mean, I could just about justify it potentially. I mean, early 90s. I mean, they took the Class 50s out of service. Were there new trains to replace them? No. They just drafted in a load of ex-Rail Freight 47s and ScotRail 47s, and then realised they didn't work very well. But it gave some interesting colours and liveries at the time, because you had Rail Freight liveried stuff hauling NSE, you had ScotRail liveried stuff hauling NSE. So once you move into sort of 92, 93, you can still have a lot of fun with colours on the layout and really mix and match stuff.
Well, in some isolated places, you could even still see some of that into the privatisation period and even the early 2000s, really. They were still lingering around in some places where they couldn't be bothered to repaint them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it was this was a few years ago now. I think it was the Networkers. When the doors opened on the Networkers, you could see the remains of Network Southeast on the curve of the door as it went into the body of the locomotive. Yeah. Because the new wrap didn't cover it properly, and the old livery was painted, or at least I believe it was painted.
Yeah.
And you could sort of see little hints here and there. So I still like it.
The old liveries were hand painted. I mean, I remember early, about 95, 96, being on a university trip to Rosyth, and then a paint shop facility for trains there. They used to bring them down from Inverkeithing, and it was the time they were bringing in the Mark IVs, taking them from Swallow and sticking them at the GNER. And what they used to do is to haul them into this massive oven, and then usually heat it up, and the paint would just melt off. And then they would then reapply the GNER with then the red stripe on the side. But they were all the Intercity stock, to my knowledge anyway, was hand painted, because you used to tell when it would go through the wash, the paint would obviously just fade and streak and eventually disintegrate. If that was a vinyl, it would peel off. So it had to have been hand painted for that to happen in the wash over progressive years. I know the 50s suffered terribly with the salt air, and
Yeah.
the air livery's got really eaten up by basically going along the south coast.
If you go back to the 70s, especially on the western region with the hydraulic diesels, the westerns and the warships, they were BR blue, but you get some beautiful weathering effects. And I'm told the cleaners they were using at the time were quite aggressive, and I suppose the sea air wouldn't have helped as well. And you'd see these really bleached locomotives with these white stains from all the cleaners and the detergent that's actually almost burnt the paint off. And you can really have some fun with some weathering. A friend of mine, he models that period, and some of the weathering he gets out of his westerns, fantastic. They look like they're on the scrap heap, but in reality, they were only sort of 10 years old.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting.
The beauty of our railways, especially when it comes to when you want to model stuff as well, is that, you can get into all these kind of crazy interim liveries and sort of decrepit conditions and things like that. There's a lot of really fun stuff to model out there, which, I think you've been up to a bit of weathering recently, haven't you, Richard?
Yeah, lots of weathering. So I basically had been looking at a lot of my stock over the last couple of years, and some of it had been weathered, in my teens, and I'd overdone it. Some of it, varnish had yellowed for whatever reason, and I just wasn't happy with a lot of it. So I took the decision to use the time that I had and sort of go back through it, try and make a better job, which I did on one of my more recent videos. I've still got a lot to do, but it's great fun. The weathering and the painting is almost a hobby in itself. You could just do that.
Absolutely.
So, now I'm flat out on the scenery now. The locos, I don't get a look at because I'm busy doing this. It can be hard to divide your time sometimes.
Even when you've got 24 hours a day to do it as well at the moment.
Well, that's right. The scratch building's very similar. You can actually spend months just doing a building or two buildings and not doing any on the layout. And then you think to yourself, I've not made any progress on the layout. But then when you look back with the scratch build thing that you've stuck on, you think, well, actually, that's 30, 40, whatever hours work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It adds to it, and then you can, as Richard said, you switch across from being maybe downstairs weathering or doing some scratch builds to suddenly going hell for leather on scenic material on the layout, and then you think, oh hell, I'll just play trains for a couple of weeks. So, there's many hobbies within an actual layout.
That's it.
And some of them I've not tried yet, like local weathering and rolling stock weathering, obviously, which is further down the path.
You're getting there. We're working on it.
I'm weathering dirty up buildings quite the thing now. But it's another thing that I'll have to have time to master. And obviously, Richard, you would focus on, there's areas that you're not as comfortable in as you are maybe weathering. You'll be working on them as you go along as well.
Well, it's something that we get a lot of comments about, really, is that people sometimes feel, like you touched on there with weathering, a lot of people feel uncomfortable with that. And, I like that you sort of pointed out there that it's a lot of different little hobbies in one big hobby, really. So you don't have to be perfect at everything. And as long as you're happy doing what you're doing and you've made something that you think you're pleased with, then that's kind of the main thing, really. Or even if you just want to run trains, that's fine too. It's a diverse hobby, really.
A heck of a lot of channels out there. You focus on the top 3 or 4, but there are a heck of a lot of channels out there doing some great stuff. I mean, I know David Tinsley. He's recreating Tinsley, and the shed that he's got is humongous, and it's probably within fraction of being totally lifelike and prototypical. And he's good at doing that. He'll rebuild a loco or something like that. And then there's Ian across at Kilbreck. He does things, and then you've got so many other guys, all got their own little skills. And Richard Hughes, for example, Richard Hughes is good at the weathering of the buildings, and what a mate of mine, he'll come and say, well, what about adding that to it? What about adding this to it? But he's not got the skills that I have in, say, other areas. So it's all about sharing, and nobody's perfect at everything.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, it's all about learning and improving your skills. I think something that certainly beginners can find is when you do a bit of scenery or you do a job on the layout, there's a fear that what you've done is permanent and it can't be undone. It's not true. You can go back and rework almost anything. And I try and show that in some of my videos. We go back and we improve stuff that we're not happy with. Nothing's set in stone. I could come back and I could rip this out and I could redo it. It's, have a go. Share the skills and just see what you can come up with.
Well, there's the old adage, isn't there, with model railways, of it's never actually finished either. So
no, not at all.
That completely leans into your point there about, it's never too late to rip something up, or change it or start again. So that's kind of the.
You can always go back. You can always revisit. You pick up an idea 2 years after you did a particular job, and you go, oh, "I like that. I'm going to give that a go."
Yeah.
I'm currently following one of Luke Towan's tutorials with regards to building trees. I know nothing about making realistic trees, so I'm having a go. That's what it's about. Having fun and learning skills and not being afraid to try something and, have a go. Because you can always come back. You can always come back.
That's it. I mean, to move into that point, I started at the station side, obviously, because station always a focal point for every, a lot of people have a station. I don't know why, and my trains never stop at it. But I started with that, and then I moved down. I like to move around in sections. And then, right, tick that off, it's done, and I'll, But I was just thinking the other night that once I get the other part of the layout done, maybe, I don't know how many years, I'll go back to the station, I might rip it up again. But what I'm going to do shortly is I'm going to use my weathering skills that I've enhanced on the depot, and I'm going to revisit the station and just dirty it up a little bit. Because when I did it first, I didn't have the confidence to go messy, like oily and grimy. And I mean, the Hattons oil spill kit I've used on the depot, I'll be using it on the bay platforms in my station. It wasn't available that kind of product wasn't available when I started. It is now, so I'll be able to go back. So it's pick up on Richard's point. When you finish a scene, that's not it done forever. You can add to it, change it, update it. It does get tired after a while. And my first bit of scenery was at the station. I thought it was the most brilliant thing ever. I'm ripping it up because I'm better at static grassing now. So I'm doing it's just, you're never going to stop learning. You're never going to stop improving. So you'll just keep going around in circles with your layout, keep redoing it.
Well, I suppose it echoes real life, I suppose, doesn't it? In that everything gets a bit tired eventually, and everything has to be modernised and changed. So does your layout.
Right.
I mean, a good example at the moment is I've just done this static grass. It's not bad. It's certainly better than what I've done in the past. And there's now a really obvious transition between this and the effort further around the corner. So now I look at what I've done and I'm like, I'm going to have to do that again. There you go. It is. It's a circle. Always improving.
That's it. Replace where, you update your skills or update it to refreshen it. It's just that, my wife's replacing me with a younger model now. 'Cause I'm getting tired and dusty. So it's the same with that as a layout. So, hope she's not watching this, by the way. She's any idea. Pay her half of the mortgage.
Oh, that's probably no worries about that. Well, I've got a slightly more specific question for you guys now. This is for both of you. It's from Cam Valley Rail, and he asks, are either of you interested in getting the new Dapol Class 59 in 00 when that comes out?
Over to you, Richard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I model the Great Western Main Line, the Western region. Absolutely. 1986 onwards, 59s, aggregate hoppers. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to one of those.
I don't know, because I don't know if they ran in my area. I'd have to do a bit of research or ask Richard, who does the research. And I remember them coming on the stream, through the rail magazines at the time. But I've never seen one up close, and I don't think I'll be adding it. But if it's anything like the recent Dapol models that have been released, like the 68 is an absolute stunner.
Yeah.
I won it from Hattons in a competition. I think the second thing I've ever won in my life. And it's an absolute stonking loco, really, really heavy. To use a Simon Kohler quote, really ballsy loco, it really is. So if the 59's anything like that, it'll be way up there,
Yeah, I mean, we took a close look at the painted samples a little while ago now, so a few people have been asking, I think, in the chat today, and they were asking yesterday as well about the status of that model. We are still just looking at the painted samples right now, so potentially coming out this year, we hope. So we're just waiting on some more news from Dapol there. But as you say, Dave, the standard of the models coming through from Dapol, especially the 00 diesels, have been spot on in recent years. So I'm sure we've got high hopes for this one. And you can pre-order that one right now on our website if you want to. You just head to hattons.co.uk and search for the Dapol Class 59. You can pre-order one of those now if you'd like one.
Question for you, Jack, just quickly then. You, because obviously Hattons now manufacture, is the shutdown, the lockdown thing, is that affecting? I'll surely have a knock-on effect on all the models releases this year.
I would have thought so.
Potentially, yeah. Basically, due to, obviously, with China sort of being affected by all of this first, a lot of the factories were shut down for months. Some of those have started to reopen now, and we are starting to see, these, everything sort of like lighting back up again, really. So I know some other manufacturers have put out statements to say there will be some delays to their 2020 releases coming through, and some of the 2021 stuff might be pushed back a little bit. At the moment, for our own stuff, we've not had any kind of major update in that regard, really, but if there is any changes, we'll just be sure to post it out. But like I say, China's kind of starting to almost reboot itself now, so I think hopefully we'll start to see progress on some of these models coming through. But yeah, it is an interesting time for this side
it's
of
a
things.
pity for Hornby as well in some respects, because they're celebrating their 100th year and it's been a total washout.
Yeah, it's been tricky for them. Yeah, they had so much planned, but I think they're still making, good time with it. There's still releases coming through from Hornby as well, so we should be getting the Mark III sliding door coaches, which a lot of people are quite interested in. They should be coming in the next few weeks, I believe. And then I don't think they've announced any significant delays yet, but we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we'll crack on with some more questions here, because there's absolutely loads coming through, so thank you once again, everyone. We've got one for Richard here from Hank American Engine. And do you own any Steam locomotives, Richard, and if so, which ones?
I have. It is a Hall class, I had to check. So I have a Hall class with a Heritage Rake Pullman coaches behind it. And I also have a BR Standard Class 5. That's an old Bachmann model. And that's it. I do not typically have a lot of steam locos, as it's not really my sort of era, my sort of area. But you got to have one, haven't you? Got at least have one.
Everyone's got to have one steam loco. Oh. You can do a rail tour. There's always an excuse.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've done. I got my rail tour.
And I've got another one for you here from Nigel Weir, and he asks, what size are your new baseboards?
Oh, that's really tricky. People ask me a lot about the baseboards, and because of the way the track sweeps around, it can be difficult to work it out. I've never properly measured it, I'll be honest. If we go for imperial measurements, I'd say the layout is probably somewhere in the region of a 24, 25 foot square. So each side of the square is 20 to 25 feet, orbiting the perimeter of the room. It's constructed using modular baseboards that I built myself. Each one of those is 4 feet long, and I think they're about 3 foot deep to try and give the layout a bit of depth. But then you see it gets complicated as I cheat and sort of put pieces like this on the corners to give us even more depth. So measuring the layout can be a challenge. It basically fills the room as much as I could get away with, hence why it's so low down, so I could ram it under the pitch of the roof to try and maximise the space. But yeah, about a 25 foot square is my guess at the moment.
So big.
Reasonably big by UK standards. Yeah, I mean, nothing compared to some US layouts, but I'd say, yeah, but by British modelling standards, I class this as a big layout.
Dave, yours isn't small either, is it?
When you're there, when you're at Everard, it doesn't seem big because I think it's because it's low down.
Yeah,
it's big, but it doesn't seem monstrous because the way you're looking down it all the time, it's actually quite an unusual angle to look at a model railway. A lot of us have it, like me, have it kind of waist height. But having it low down actually gives you a nice view into the layout, and it allows you to kind of see those curves a bit better, I think, anyway. And it doesn't seem massive, but you're right when you think about it. 25 feet. I mean, my layout is 25 feet long.
Yeah.
Like 13 feet. But you know what kind of throws me with your one, Richard, because you've got one fiddle yard area which isn't scenic. And that's what I think you forget about that as part of the layout. You know, it is massive.
It doesn't seem big. I mean, it's one whole side of the room basically. But
yeah.
I think the room makes it look smaller because of the way the roof slopes down and gets quite close to the layout, and it can feel a bit close. Yeah,
I know it's a big layout, but it doesn't seem massive. But when you watch the trains going round and taking a long time, you think that is a fair distance.
Yeah, I mean.
And the big sweeping curves really are your signature, aren't they?
Oh, I love my sweeping curves. Yeah. Love them. Best thing I ever did. I always wanted them on this layout. Nice sweeping curves. I mean, they're still tight by real standards, but they look all right in model.
That's it. We've got some people in the chat, I believe, who are actually working on their layout right now with us as a soundtrack. So we've got Bowmaker Fox is doing a bit of ballasting, and then we've got some other people doing a bit of static grass and things like that. So that is awesome to see people cracking on with the layouts. And then we've got a few comments for you, Richard, again, asking about, obviously your last update was about a week ago, making some big changes to your branch line, but people are asking what's up next on the channel.
Okay, so next is starting to do the scenery for the branch line. As you can see, there's a little bit of the scenery going on here, quite a lot of terrain and static grass. I spent almost all day yesterday doing static grass. So the next video will be the beginnings of the scenery. Certainly not going to complete the scenery by any means, but we'll get the basics down. And I just need
You're putting a farm in, aren't you?
yeah. If I've got the space, I'll put maybe a farm building. One of the challenges is making use of the available space. Obviously, trying to make something that looks realistic. We've all got our own, preferences and styles, what we like to build. I've done a logical continuation of the embankments with a few little bits and pieces around the corner, which you'll see in the upcoming video. I just need to crack on with a bit more of the scenery, which I'll do after we finish this live stream, and do the video editing. I've got 5 hours of raw footage so far.
Blimey.
So, another...
I'm winding him up about the farm. I really am, because he keeps getting asked to put a farm on his layout.
I've got the space. I get a lot of people suggest a lot of ideas, and some of them are great. You could do like a rundown industrial building, or could you build this? Could you build this village, or could you do this, or could you do that? I find it's difficult to get it in the space a lot of times, and I try and stay to that sort of less is more approach. But it's still got to be interesting. So.
Well, there was one I was quite impressed by that you sort of did almost as a space filler. I can't remember how long ago it was now, but the car auction site that you managed to fit in, I think that was a really good use of the space, and it kind of just shows you some of the more kind of, people I don't think would usually think to have a scene like that, usually.
I tried to, there's certain cliches in model railways that I try and avoid, putting a bus on a bridge, that sort of thing.
I've just moved my bus.
Allotments and stuff like that. So the problem I had was the space, it was sort of like a triangle, wasn't a very useful space. I put a couple of houses on it, and I couldn't fit the gardens in. It didn't look right. It felt contrived. And I started to think about it. And I was like, well, what do you get on the edge of town? Well, you get these small industrial units and businesses that are taking up small plots of land here and there in between bigger buildings. Why not go for one of those? And then obviously the interest in cars sort of swayed me a little bit, and I came up with a car auction. It's not finished. There's still more work to do to it, but it just provides a nice little opener to the more built-up part of the layout.
Yeah. In a way, I suppose it's quite an easy scene as well, that it's one building and a load of cars. So
yeah, it's just concrete, put a load of cars in it, done.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, you need a fence, maybe a small building, but it's a nice, easy little scene to get started with. To be honest, the main reason I started with that area was because the scenery was going to be relatively straightforward, and obviously I like to develop my skills. I didn't want to tackle any part of the layout that I felt was going to be complex or difficult until I'd sort of got my skills a little bit better and learned a few more tips and tricks. One of the reasons I didn't do this scenery is because I wanted to get better with static grass. So by using that car auction area to sort of practice almost, and able to come around to this part of the layout and do a better job of it. But again, it's all improving. My next attempt will hopefully be better than this stuff.
Well, I'm sure everyone's waiting with bated breath to see what you'll do next anyway. And if you want to check out Richard's endeavours in model railways, you can head to Everard Junction on YouTube as well. And there's videos pretty much every week at the moment, isn't there?
At the moment, I'm trying to do a video. It's just about every 8 to 9 days. Obviously, with the situation we're in at the moment, I find myself with a lot more free time. So why not progress with the layout? And when I progress with the layout, I make videos of it. So there you go. Fair bit of progress going on at the moment. But hopefully, when things get back to normal, I too can get back to normal. And the videos will go back down to sort of every couple of weeks, every month or so. I don't like to rush anything and take the time and get it looking right. It's just the amount of time I've got available at the moment now obviously means that progress really seems to be, moving at quite a pace. But I'm still doing the same amount of work. It still takes the same amount of time. So, yeah.
I'm sure everyone will be happy either way.
I'm sure. Hopefully, I've just got to edit the video. That's the next challenge. There's so much.
It takes a long time, actually. You forget how long that takes.
Oh, it's a long time.
Especially my outtakes.
Yes, yeah, you're quite famous for your outtakes.
Dave, you've been
birds on the roof. It's the seagulls on the roof just now.
Yeah, seagulls.
Stupid neighbours feeding them.
Thankfully, I don't think they're going to be picked up.
McDonald's is shut across the road. All the seagulls come to their back garden. Kind of get a bit of filming done for birds. It's like Alfred Hitchcock movie.
I get pigeons sometimes. You'll be doing your intro. You get about 4 or 5 pigeons land on the roof and start having a chat with each other, and it's like, oh god. So yeah, there's plenty of outtakes on Everard Junction. But, it's not easy making videos.
Well, Dave, you've been pretty busy too, haven't you? I know you've been doing some work on your depot scene, and you've been doing quite a few streams there as well. But you've also had a pretty substantial competition on the go, haven't you? Which is going to be drawn pretty soon.
Yeah, that's just mental. Just before lockdown, I know. Just before lockdown, I had this idea. It was Saturday morning. I had this idea. I thought, wonder if I could, get in contact with a few of the people I know, just through doing the hobby and YouTube and meeting at shows. See if I could blag some freebies out of them. And it was Cavalex and a Curascale to start with. I thought I'll just get a couple of vouchers or maybe a wagon or two. And I thought, well, I could contact Ormy Magazine, I could contact Pico, and before I knew it, I had, a fairly substantial prize haul, including a train. Somebody gave me a train set. I mean, West Hill Wagon Works gave me a train set.
Yeah, it's a whole train set. I couldn't believe it.
Right, and I thought, right, okay, this is getting a bit. I'm supposed to better come up with a video that's decent now to actually try and get people to enter this. I thought something a bit fun that the kids can watch as well in lockdown, like finding, like Where's Wally kind of rip-off. Find Frank, and it's just bizarre. I mean, companies are contacting me saying, here, we've got this for you, we've got that for you, do you want some of this? And it's just exploded. I mean, I've got over just about 1,200 entries.
Wow.
Not all, 800 odd, 900 correct ones. And it's just like, I don't know, 1,200 quid's worth of kit. It's just, it's going to cost me a fortune to post this stuff out. But a lot of entries from kids. It was great that I didn't anticipate anyone out with my normal kind of sphere of modelers being interested in it. But the amount of kids and families and joint entries from, brothers and mums and sons or dads and daughters, it's just crazy. So I'm drawing that tomorrow night live. And that's why I've been dipping my toe in the live stream water, because live stream water. And because
see what you did there.
But I got a new phone. My old phone had just blown up, so I got a new phone. I thought, this is better quality now, so I'll try some live feeds and stuff. So that was purely to test whether it was, going to work with this competition. So tomorrow at 7, I'm going to go live to the nation. I've got 41 prizes to give away. Obviously, I've got the Hattons snowplow as well, which was great to use to give away, and a ballast as well. So that is a prize that I'm hoping I could win back myself. But all my family have entered. But no, I mean, lots of entries. I've got a bucket full of strips of paper, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's really, I've got so many comments as well, emails saying how good it is that I've done that, and it's given everyone a lift. And that was kind of that was the purpose of it, was to give everyone a wee bit of distraction. And I've managed to get so many kids involved who might not be interested in the hobby. Hopefully they've got interested in the hobby now.
I was going to say, like, it's a really nice thing, not just during the sort of COVID-19 period, but just for the hobby in general, because it's one thing that I'm sure we can all agree on, is that we want more young people into the hobby, and we want just more people getting into it in general. And I think doing something like this is a great way to kind of get people hooked, because, it might, even if it's just one or a few people who are going to get these prizes, that could spark them off to get completely into the hobby, and, it's more people getting into this side of things, so...
Definitely. I mean, I usually get about 100 entries to a competition that I do, and they're more focused. They're on a particular branded product or something that somebody's given me, like Scale Model Senior or something. But with this one, I've got a whole range of people societies, Deltic Preservation Society have given me a wee something, and they're obviously going to go through tough times just now because nobody's visiting or maybe contributing, and everyone's going through a tough time. So I wasn't expecting anything substantial from anyone, but for some of the companies to give what they've given is brilliant, and it really just shows the power of YouTube. YouTube's got its faults, especially within this hobby, but it's such a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
I just realised how powerful it is with this competition.
Well, I can see there's a couple of people who've mentioned in the chat that they've entered the competition. So good luck to anyone here who has joined that. So
over the world. I mean, I've got people from New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong, Argentina, across the pond in America and Canada, Eastern Europe, everywhere. It's just mental.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'll post a train set to Australia or Hong Kong right enough if they win, but I'll not be delivering it in person. But it's got everyone involved, and good luck to everyone if you've entered, folks. Thanks first of all for entering and supporting it, and good luck.
So is that tomorrow that's going to be announced?
Tomorrow, yes. The plan is technical glitches aside, 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Excellent. So I'm sure a lot of the guys in the chat will be watching Theme Park Station with bated breath to see who's going to win that. So good luck to everyone who is here, and I'm sure you'll be very pleased with that prize when whoever manages to get it.
Definitely.
Right, we've got an interesting one here from Dudley Central, and he asks, what do you guys think the next innovation in model railways is going to be? He quite liked the mechanised pantograph on the Class 90, which is a recent release. Uh-huh. And what he'd like to see is operational doors on multiple units. So some interesting ideas there, but what do you guys think might be the next big thing?
Good question, Joe.
That would be something, wouldn't it? You imagine a slam door EMU comes into your station and all those doors open.
And synchronized audio as well. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, you have to set them up so they open just before it stops to get that, making sure it looks realistic. So, that's a tricky one.
I don't know. The automation is going to take to the next level. Your train automation. I mean, at the moment, you can have shuttles go back and forth. You got your thing on a shuttle just now, Richard?
Yeah, that's the one you're shuttling back and forth without any input from me.
I just think the tech side of things is going to take off, and it's going to become more of an automation thing. It's simple. At the moment, if you want automation, there are a lot of sensors in the track and train detection, and it's a wee bit of a grey area to me just now. I don't know. I just think it's going to go that way. I think we're getting to a point now with the detail on models. We're now retooling existing models. I think we're running out of, obviously, prototypes to start from scratch, but I think we're going to move away from that and then focus more on the actual, what's inside the loco and not what the body looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've got to a really good point with detail and with sort of digital command control and things like that. Everything's kind of got to, I'd say, almost like a nice point now where there's a lot of, detail and a lot of control opportunities there. So I think if people wanted to start experimenting more with, some people might call it gimmicks, but, with some sort of advanced features, I think now's the time for that sort of side of the hobby to start coming out.
As I think in the next 5-10 years, sorry to interrupt you, Richard, I think we'll no longer rely on pickups from the track. I think that's the next generation. The trains themselves will have cell batteries in them. It's like your mobile phone. And they'll charge as they go, kind of thing. So it'll actually be an enclosed unit, so you don't have to worry about dirty track or wiring and so, because some people hate soldering, pickups and all that nonsense. Forget all that. It'll all be an enclosed unit. I just think it's going to go that way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's going to certainly be a tech-driven bit of innovation, I'd say. I mean, as we've discussed with the detail, we're at a point now where you can take something you purchased 15 years ago and put it next to something that's just come out, and they complement each other. There's no clear massive difference than there would be, say, with a model that's 30, 40 years old. So the detail has certainly reached a sort of a peak, I suppose you could argue. The electronics and the tech, I think, is certainly where it's going to go. Even simple stuff like flashing tail lamps. We're seeing more and more manufacturers introduce a flashing tail lamp to coaches or freight rolling stock. If you're running a realistic model, you must have a tail lamp to say your train is complete. So to see that starting to come with new models is very good, because up to this point you've had to solder or fit your own pickups and buy various components to achieve that. I'm currently doing it to a few of my coaches and rolling stock. So to see some of these features coming with new models straight out of the box is a real plus for a lot of people who aren't perhaps confident in soldering and taking apart a brand new model and adding lights to it and stuff like that. So I'd say the tech definitely is going to improve.
We've got to be careful as well that we didn't have. I mean, I've got the Mark II F-Ron around there, and I had to save. I've got 5 years to wait for them right now. I've had time to save up. We put so much into a model that it prices people out. And then
absolutely, it's a fine balance.
There's always going to be some people like to detail their stuff. I mean, I was watching Pete Waterman getting interviewed by Hornby for the Centenary on one of the YouTube channels, and he was saying that he hand builds all his wagons and he makes it lifelike. And there's always going to be people in the hobby who want to do that, and we don't want to suddenly, but everyone produce these all singing, all dancing models that cannot be improved, because then that kills off the cottage industries that provide those detailing packs and the etched brass, etc., that then make the hobby what it is. So the big manufacturers, they want to do the best for us, but I'd rather have something that 90% of us can afford, and some people then can add to, than have something that only 10% of us can afford, and there's nothing to do apart from stick on the track and run it. So it's very difficult with tech to keep the prices down and still have that level of realism in their models.
I think it's a really interesting point there, because obviously we all strive to try, make things as realistic as possible. And Richard's point there about things like the tail lamps, I suppose it's a relatively small thing, but really completes the train and makes it so much more realistic. But then, of course, that could potentially be bringing the price up quite substantially. But it's one thing that obviously with our own Hattons Originals brand of products, we've always tried to make sure that, we've always had sort of two areas with it. So the first is we won't go ahead of a project if we have to compromise on the quality or the detail to get it down to a certain price point. And then on the flip side of that as well, we won't do a project if it's going to have to be extortionately expensive to get it out there for the public as well. So it has to be a project that strikes the balance of being able to do it to the best that it can be, but also meeting a certain price point. So I think that's something that a lot of manufacturers are having to deal with as well.
Yeah, I mean, on things like a cab opening doors, spring doors in the Class 50s and stuff that Hornby did in the early 2000s, it was a different era then. Things were cheap, labour was cheap, and we got rotating fans, sprung cab doors, and models now aren't having, they don't come with that, and we're no less impressed with them because they've not got that. So I think sometimes we can start to be too clever. I mean, I know that the roofers on the Class 50 used to fall off if you sneezed at them.
Yes.
We got to a point where you're too clever. You're trying to be you're not too clever, that's unfair. You're trying to get it so realistic that it actually becomes so fragile. And there's all pointless stuff there, like cab doors. Who opens the cab doors? But it's nice to have it, but who uses them? So it's just about, as you say, keeping the balance between getting it right and not compromising too much, but then not charging the earth for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose it's like you say, there's some features that realistically most people are never going to use or don't really hold any kind of purpose on a model railway, so a lot of that stuff have kind of fallen by the wayside. But I suppose it was an interesting experiment to see if that was something people wanted, and then the public spoke, I suppose.
They're lovely features.
Yeah.
But would I rather pay 15, 20 quid less, not have them? Possibly yes, because I don't use them. The model itself, I'm looking at one now, the model itself looks stunning without knowing that the cab door's open.
That's it. Yeah. Right, we're coming up to about 10 minutes left on the stream there, guys. So just want to say thanks everyone again for joining us. We've got loads of you guys down here, loads of great questions too. So sorry if I didn't get a chance to answer everyone's question, but in an hour there's only so much we can cover.
Yeah.
So I'll have a quick flick through and see what we've got. We've got
fire answers.
Exactly, let's do some quick ones. We've got Upwell and Onwards, and it's one for you, Dave. And he asks, it's a silly question. No, there's no silly questions here. Would you ever model a Jacobite Steam Rail Tour on your layout?
Possibly. I do have steam engines to have a rail tour. I've got Union South Africa, which does rail tours around my area at least once a year. Jacobite, I know the line and the train. So yeah, the answer is possibly.
Fair enough. Might see that one.
Fair answer.
No audience participation on that one. We've got Tristan Clack has asked for both of you guys if you've got any engineers trains and whether they might see those in a video at some point.
Okay, bear with me one moment. I will get an engineer's train running on the layout.
Oh!
Give me a second.
Special one for the stream.
Talk amongst yourselves.
In that case, I'll find another question while we wait.
I've not got engineers trains, but I've got some. Most I've got is kind of engineer, Dutch wagons that are probably going past now actually, but I've not got any engineers stuff yet.
But you could start doing one if you've got some Dutch wagons. That could be a start for it.
Yeah. I'm starting.
It's on its way.
We'll wait with bated breath for that.
I had to change a couple of points, but one day I'll get around to motorising them, but all manual at the moment. So,
we've got one from Talmouth while we're waiting, which is for both of you guys. Which is the oldest locomotive that you both still run?
My class 91 from 1988, 1989. That's just recently been retired because of the new one that's coming out. And a Lima class 156. A Lima I, and that I got when I was about 13, 14. Sadly, no longer running on the layout, but that's the two oldest locos I've got.
Fair enough.
Oldest loco I still have that I run occasionally is the BR Standard Class 5. That dates from probably about 2006, something like that. That was on my first sort of attempt at a layout. And then the next oldest would be my Network Southeast liveried Class 108. Believe it or not, that was model of the year 2007. It's still going on the layout. Just gave it a service the other day actually, and put some passenger figures inside. But that one still sees quite a lot of use. So probably my Network Southeast 108 is arguably the oldest loco that gets the most use on the layout.
I suppose it goes to show as well that like some models that we could consider a little bit older now, they've still got a place on the layout. There's still really good detail in a lot of these older models, and they're still good performers too. And cheeky plug, I suppose, is for our own pre-owned department at Hattons.co.uk. We do get a frankly astonishing array of items through there, so it could be anything from all your classic British outline items to
I got a 47 of Hattons pre-owned. I did it in the wish list, and it was 715 Haymarket in NAC livery, and I basically stole it off you guys. You gave me it for 160 quid. I was laughing as I went to the basket. It's as new condition. I mean, that was a couple of years ago, right enough. We came from an era where Richard was saying the 108s and stuff. They were so well designed. They've not aged. The mechanisms and maybe the DCC functions in them, like the 47, it might need to be tweaked, but the actual shape is not tired. It's because it was so far up there when it came out.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You can take a Bachmann 108 as an example, and you can put it next to a brand new 101, and they look fine together. They complement each other well. And yeah, one of them is 13 years old.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Slightly different question now, and I think I probably know what the answer's going to be to this one. It's from Kelly Ashford, and she asks, are you guys fans of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends?
The original, yes. When they actually used to use real railways.
I mean, who isn't, right?
Wooden characters with like funny shaped arms. That was when I liked them. My daughter watched the animated one, and that's just...
Yeah, it's not for me that either. I'm more of a fan of the classic stuff. But I mean, who isn't, right? I mean, I think 99% of the people who are in this hobby are probably at least fairly familiar with it. So that's a pretty.
Oh yeah, I mean, growing up in the 90s, when I was, a couple of years old in sort of 90, 94, 95, I'm told I was glued to it, and that was the original. Obviously, pre-computer generated imagery and all of that stuff.
Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there was to, that would be my favourite part of the series. Certainly the classic original stuff.
Fair enough. Few questions. A few commentary really about sound on your layouts. So a few people looking to see if you might go into doing some more digital sound stuff on your layout, Richard.
Okay, well, I'm well known for being a bit of a sound skeptic. I very much like the technology. I think it's fantastic. and you can have a lot of fun with it. Certainly, the loco sat on the branch line just there, start the engine up, we blow the horn, pull away, the noise of the engine accelerating, sound of the traction motors, fantastic. But the problem I have is once it's done 2 laps of the layout, I go, shut up, and I turn it off. So sound has come on leaps and bounds in the last 10 years or so. We're seeing much better speaker technology being put into these locomotives. So I certainly wouldn't rule out sound locos having more of a future on Everard Junction, but I still have a bit of that skepticism. A good example, I have the Rapido Trains APTE, and I actually run it without the sound. It's got a lovely mechanism, super quiet, super smooth. I just run it without the sound. You run it 2-3 laps with those turbines going, and within a couple of minutes, shut up, and you turn it off. So yeah,
I've got 47 on just now, and I'm sick of it already.
I'm still not entirely convinced, but with each year, the technology improves. I mean, going back to the discussion on innovation, the sound has come a long way in the last few years, and it will only continue to get better, I think. So I may well convert one day and take the plunge, but at the moment, I like the noise of the clickety-clack and the trains just running as models.
Definitely.
I think there's a place for both sides, really, isn't there? I mean, it's like you say, it's subjective at the end of the day. Some people will prefer to have the sort of the speaker sounds there, but like you say, there's almost a bit of realism without sound, isn't there? Sometimes, so
absolutely. I mean, it depends what you like. Some people love the sound and they couldn't do without it. Total respect to those people. The objective of the layout is to have fun. So do what makes you happy. But I'm still not personally entirely convinced, although I find the technology very impressive.
Yeah, I think a few people agree with you in the comments here as well. We've got a few saying that they prefer the raw sound of their locos as well. So yeah. I think you've got a few followers in that one. I think we'll make this one our last question, and this has been submitted by a few people actually, and I'll pitch it to both of you guys. People are interested to know how you research what are the correct locos and rolling stock to go on your layout, and how you kind of get that together.
Okay, so YouTube is an amazing resource for that sort of thing. If anybody watched my weathering video, there's a little bit of archive footage in there, and that will give you an idea of the sort of thing I do when I'm looking for information. Look at photographs and videos taken from the era that you're modelling. Obviously, the more modern a modeller you are, the easier it is, the more material there is available. Even if you're modelling 1930s or earlier, the amount of imagery that's out there is very useful. And if you can find a picture of a complete train, the information you get is huge. Not only do you see the loco, the colour, and where it was running, but you can also see the train it was hauling, and you can use that information to get yourself a realistic train to haul behind your locomotives. Something else that's quite good is magazines and publications. They'll quite often do a special on, say, Network Southeast in a certain region, which obviously be interest to me. I'll pick that up and have a look through. Might be another magazine. There's the Highland region in Scotland, focusing on the sleeper trains throughout the 1990s. And then you've also got, places like Hattons themselves, with things like the formation guides. So there's a lot of information out there. It's just finding it and making use of it to create a realistic scene on the railway. And I use that to try and create realistic freight trains, passenger trains that could have been seen on a random Tuesday afternoon in, say, Oxford in June 1990. And again, it's almost like a hobby in itself. You can spend hours and hours just poring over old photographs and videos to see what life was like on the railway during those times.
Absolutely.
Fun.
I agree.
I started with Richard regarding being, quite. I'm getting better actually. I'm getting more of an interest in it now. It's what coaches ran in what order and what formations and stuff. But I'll look at YouTube, Haymarket, sites, just East Coast, just to kind of get my formations and what ran. There's a wee bit of modeller's license with what I run on my layout. I know Richard's quite tight to a 2 or 3 year period. I'm kind of 1980s to very early 90s, so there's more of a kind of scope for me just to spend too much money on models.
That's why I only model 2 years. Keeps budget down.
I paid your salary for 3 years, Jack, and the amount of money I put back.
Undoubtedly, I think both of you have over the past few years. Well, I think on that note, unfortunately, guys, I think we're going to have to call it there because we're going up to, well, just on 3 o'clock now, so that's just on an hour. I just want to say, time flies when you're having fun, right? So,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much to Richard from Everard Junction and to Dave from Dean Park Station for joining me today. Of course, happy birthday once again to Dave as well, which a few people said in the chat. So, and of course, do make sure to head over to Dean Park Station for his competition draw tomorrow evening, I believe. It's going to be an evening.
Yes, and thanks, 7 o'clock. And thanks again to Hattons for coming up with a prize there for me. So that was really good of you to put something like your snowplow in there. One of the cracking prizes that could be given away tomorrow night to some lucky winners. So yeah, thanks very much for that, Jack. Appreciate that.
No problem at all. You're very welcome. And of course, do check out Everard Junction with Richard over on YouTube as well, and he'll have plenty of updates on his layout coming through as well, won't you?
Tell him how long the lockdown goes on, we could do this again.
You never know.
Right back onto the scenery after this. So yeah, a lot of work to do, but I've got a lot of footage, and hopefully we'll have another video in the next couple of days.
Brilliant. We're all looking forward to that anyway. So I suppose that just leaves me to say thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for all your great comments. Apologies if we didn't get a chance to answer your question, but if you do need an answer to anything, our help desk team are now available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week worldwide. So if you ever need any help, we're always there no matter where you are in the world with anything to do with model railways. So just hit us up and we'll be able to help. So yeah, thanks very much everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye
Thanks
everyone.
very much. Cheers,
Right.
now. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.